What's going on, Dolph fans? It is your boy Dillon, and I got a pretty quick video for you today. Got a couple updates, some moves the Dolphins made. Today we actually have some cuts to talk about, and also going to go through an article that involves DeVante Parker because there are teams that are potentially looking to trade for him. So going to get into that in a second. Before I do, though, I do want to add just a little bit from yesterday to yesterday's video, surrounding the Tyreek Hill stuff or whatever, because I want to make it clear for people. So, look, at the end of the day, making those big splashy trades and, all of that stuff, that's not generally how I would do business. Now, there are occasionally exceptions to the rule, but right now when we still have, a number of holes to fill, I wouldn't be making those kinds of moves. And my biggest issue with the trade is how much draft capital and cap space that they invested into the one player. Having said that, I've also said a number of times that when it comes to the cap, there are a number of ways to make it work, to manipulate it, etc. Like I said, we're going to get into a couple cuts that they made today, and they can restructure contracts and do all sorts of stuff. So not a totally big deal there, and there certainly are ways, even though the draft compensation was outrageous, and as of right now, the draft for this year looks pretty fucking boring, because we have no early round draft capital. There are still certainly ways that they can at least recoup some of that. Potentially, one way is in a DeVante Parker trade, right? And if they can get at least a little something back from him, now are they going to get a first or even a second round pick for him? Probably not. But maybe like third round's probably like best you could hope for. But maybe a fourth round pick, right? Something like that. I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening with that. They still haven't technically gotten Xavier Howard locked up, although I would really rather them not let him go. But there is always that. Anyway, point being, though, is there are ways that they can navigate around it. And look, Tyreek Hill said it today. He quoted, I think, LeBron James or whatever when, they said, fuck them picks or whatever when he was asked about, trading all these picks away for like one player and stuff. The only thing about that is my only one issue with that. I get that, and like I'm not necessarily like upset about the proven player. Like I love Tyreek Hill, and I love that he's a Dolphin. I'm super excited for that. It's going to be awesome to see him out there with guys like Waddle and Gesicki and, these running backs and so on and so forth. So it is going to be a lot of fun. But the issue I have with that one part of it is the Rams have proven they can make that work. The Dolphins tend to fail miserably every time we have a big splash signing or spend big in free agency or make these giant trades, these blockbuster trades or whatever it is. We tend to fail and fall flat on our fucking face. So I'm not super excited about it from that aspect either. And the Rams have proven, right, that they can do it. They've proven. The Browns, on the other hand, are another team that has not proven that they can compile a, ton of talent, whether it be in the draft or by, trading for guys. The Browns did both. They drafted a bunch of top talent and then also traded for a bunch of guys like OBJ and, brought in Jarvis Landry and, so on and so forth, right? Guys that are now leaving, right? Baker Mayfield, he was a draft pick, but you see what I'm saying, right? So my point is it's hard to make risky philosophical approaches like that work regularly and consistently, right? And that's why it's not my base philosophy, why I would be why I would build through free agency, not be a big build through the draft, not be a big spender in free agency, right? Pay players in-house when they prove it to you, obviously, you'd like to be able to draft and develop these guys, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So those are the, the little issues, but I do love it. I love Tyreek Hill being here. So I just want to make it clear that I'm not opposed at all to the fact that Tyreek Hill is a Dolphin. I love it. I love it. I love it. And also, let me mention that I love the direction that they're going in. And I actually do believe that they have a plan. I do not, when people said that Brian Flores' time here and the regime that was here then when they had a plan, you can fuck off with that. They didn't have any kind of fucking plan except for whatever Brian Flores was trying to accomplish for himself. He had his own agenda and that was it. But there was no clear, plan for the team. I feel like they do have one now, and I like the direction they're going in. And I also really love the coaching staff that was put together. So anyway, that's enough on the soliloquy to add to it. I just want people to be clear. I'm not a fan, and I wouldn't have done the trade myself because I think we just have too many other needs right now. The Dolphins haven't proven that they can make these big splashy moves and make it work, etc., etc. But I still do love, look, both things can be true simultaneously, right? So I'm not a fan of the trade, but I am a fan of Tyreek Hill being a Miami Dolphin. So there it is. Now let's go ahead and jump into the actual news that I want to talk about. Real quick, we're going to start over here on my Twitter and a couple things that I retweeted out. So the first one, let's actually start with this one from two from Barry Jackson, but let's start with this one about the offensive line. Dolphins, per source Dolphins, because they are still pursuing, they are also pursuing some other free agents too. Like the free agency period isn't done yet and they still likely will make some other moves. Hopefully they will even bring in JC Tretter and fill in that center spot. And then I think free agency is a clear and obvious home run no matter how you slice it, right? Even with the skepticism over giving a ton of draft capital to the Chiefs for one player, etc., right? Like, because then you would have really addressed everything. I mean, let's be fair. Wide receiver is no longer an issue. That is off the board. We took care of backup quarterback, right? Bringing in Teddy Bridgewater. Running back, I still would like to see more done there, but I do like the moves that they made. I do like the guys that were brought in and are expected to be here. Let's say that, right? So, and bringing in Armstead and Connor Williams, those are good moves, right? So, and then obviously Gesicki and bringing Agba back, right? All good moves. So I really like what's going on. But let's take a look at this. Very interested in seeing, and they're not done, in seeing Austin Jackson at right tackle. Liam could compete there as well. Though there's the option of moving Hunt to right tackle. They really like how he played at guard. 3 guys for 2 spots with Hunt heavy runner, front runner for 1. Hunt is absolutely going to be in that lineup. But again, I would love to see, I personally, does he play right tackle well? Has he played well? Sure. And some people will say that he actually graded out better as a right tackle. Maybe, but I think his best position personally, now to be fair, I have no playing background, I have no coaching background, and no scouting background. But me personally, I believe his best position is right guard, and that's where I would like to keep him. I've said that a million times, right? Having said that, I wouldn't hate it if they figured something else that was adequate out and made sure that that right guard spot was not a liability if they decide to move Hunt out to right tackle. But look, so if they can get JC Tretter, then it would be Armstead, Williams, Tretter. Let's say then Hunt stays at right guard, so that way you have 4 straight offensive linemen of, solid quality, and then you just got to worry about that right tackle. I mean, that is the blind side, so, that could be something. Or I guess either way, if you have one weak spot, whether it's right guard or right tackle, I'm not nearly as concerned with that as I was last year when left tackle, left guard, center, and right tackle were all concerns, right? I'm okay with having one concern on the offensive line as opposed to 4. 4 is scary as shit. 1 I can work with. You know what I'm saying? So, and who knows though, also a little added element, because I do believe, even though it is true and fair to judge, not necessarily judge, but let's say evaluate Austin Jackson on his current body of work, and it's been pretty terrible. That is fair, but I am also the guy that says before you can fully judge a player and, make any kind of definitive statement about a player. Now, you can do that, and then they could still fucking prove you wrong. over the course of their full career, but you got to at least give them their rookie contracts before you make an evaluation. And we do have a new coaching staff, what I would believe to be a better coaching staff, at least in theory, although theory is important because what these guys are going to be teaching these young offensive linemen is going to be huge when it comes to techniques and fundamentals and all those different things, right? And the guys that we have in this coaching staff have a lot of proven track record and time developing offensive linemen. So there is a chance that Austin Jackson, with his athleticism, could be a solid tackle eventually with the right kind of coaching staff and development and stuff. So anyway, like I said, more things to happen though. The Dolphins do not appear to be done. But they do need to clear cap space and figure out ways to do it. Now, if they do end up trading DeVante Parker, that's actually a double win because not only would they then recoup some of that, lost draft capital, but they also would clear off cap space, right? So, and now again, that would obviously then be a ding to the wide receiver room, but right now, bro, I think you're pretty fucking fine, right? When you have guys like, Mike Gesicki, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, you can even throw in Adam Shaheen and Durham Smythe because they're solid catchers, pass catchers as well, right? You add in the running backs. There are plenty of weapons and a lot of mouths to feed. So, and I talked about that yesterday. That was one of my potential concerns, I guess. Not really a concern. I wouldn't really even call it a concern, just something to think about, that with so many mouths to feed, he might not have that same level of production he was getting when he was like one of the only targets in KC, right? So anyway, but obviously then if you trade DeVante Parker, that is one less mouth to feed and whatever. But I think the wide receiver room is good, and there is still a chance that they could draft a mid to late round wide receiver as well. Yeah, so anyway, and they did, as we will see here in this next tweet, they did release Allen Hurns. Nobody's going to care about that. That does save $2.6 million there. Dolphins up against the cap and need to create space for draft class, a small one as of right now, and it's also going to be cheap because we have no first or second round picks. We got rid of one of those fourth round picks, so you're going to actually have a relatively small and cheap draft class. So that is part of the balance of how all of this stuff works. Okay, you get rid of all of that draft capital and you're not really going to have much of a fucking draft, as it turns out, because of that. But there is the flip side to that, so let's see how they manage it and cushion to address needs that arise. Plus, they also, like I said, they still do want to make some moves, and they still need to, because I still would like them to. Now, I had talked to somebody that said they're, it's a little grapevine-y, but I had talked to somebody who said they talked to somebody from that covers the Raiders or whatever, like just somebody who does like YouTube content though, like not necessarily like an insider. But anyway, Dolphins may be going after Josh Jacobs. I actually would really like that, and then I think you'd be pretty solid. Now you're going to have to give away some more draft capital to trade for him. But again, there's the ebbs and flows and the balance of that. And I actually would think then if you got Josh Jacobs, you'd be pretty solid with Raheem Mostert, Jacobs, Chase Edmonds, right? The guys that you bring in, you'd be pretty solid there. They still do want to potentially make moves. If they brought in J.C. Treader, I'd feel a lot better about this offensive line, right? So they still do need to make moves, but they do save 2.6 getting rid of Hurns and 3.6 million getting rid of Jesse Davis. So he is no longer there, and no matter who ends up at right tackle, well, I guess there is a chance that Jackson could end up at right tackle and still end up being a disaster. Although my guess is that this coaching staff isn't going to wait half the season to make moves and address those issues, right? Anyway, I think that what I was going to say is that, like, no matter who's at right tackle, you should feel pretty good that it's going to be an upgrade over Jesse Davis. But they have started making some of those moves, and that is actually a good segue into this next bit, because and then if they continue on making moves, which they will, now let's say they could also, let's say restructure Byron Jones's contract. When they're doing a deal with Xavier Howard, they're going to pay him a whole lot of money, but maybe they do it in signing bonus kind of shit. as opposed to, like base pay and salary, right? So you manipulate it so that way it's less against the cap hit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there still are moves that are going to be made, so we'll keep our eyes open for that. But let's talk about this. Trade rumors. DeVante Parker drawing interest from Eagles and others. So, let's see. After acquiring 6-time Pro Bowl wideout Tyreek Hill from Kansas City, Dolphins receiver room has become a bit crowded. While it's not clear whether the Dolphins are actively shopping their offensive weapons, Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald reports that wide receiver DeVante Parker is drawing trade interest from several teams around the league. The Eagles reportedly are among the teams inquiring about Parker's availability, and I would absolutely do it. Again, the room is getting a bit crowded. You need to recoup some draft capital and some cap space, 100. And I was a fan of Parker in the 15 draft. I wanted him. He's the only jersey I have left of a current Dolphins player. So if they did get rid of him, none of my jerseys would be currently relevant, right? Other than their Dolphins colors. So that would be a little bit sad. However, I was never really in favor of giving him the contract extension because I didn't feel like it was working out here. And, while I like the production he does give you when he's on the field, he's hardly ever on the fucking field. And probably for the both of us, it would be best to just, cut ties, let him go somewhere else, change the scenery, and see if he can, revitalize his career elsewhere, whatever. But it's not working out here. So to me, it's a no-brainer. You trade DeVante Parker, you clear up that cap space because he is one of the higher cap hits. I think he's actually got like somewhere between a 5 to 8 million cap hit for this upcoming season. So it would save a good bit of money, and then you can also get some draft capital back, even if it's not, a first or second round pick, right? So in addition to trading for Hill, Miami also added Cowboys receiver Cedric Wilson. Jackson noted that if Parker isn't traded, his role on team will likely be rotating with Wilson as the number 3 wideout behind Hill and Waddle, who had a standout rookie season. And let's be fair and let's be honest, Parker probably doesn't really want that. He doesn't want to be a rotational third guy. And he could, on one of these other teams, he could probably move up the depth chart just by going to that team. It's probably, look, the writing's probably on the wall. Something's going to probably happen. I'll probably make a video either later today when it happens or tomorrow or the day after when we find out that they traded DeVante Parker. But I think that's a wise move, and I think that they should. And get as much for him as you possibly can. Use the fact that there are multiple teams to get a little bit of a bidding war, and then maybe you can get a 3rd round pick. You feel me? So let's see what happens. Anyway, the Dolphins, or maybe you can even fucking push it to a 2nd. I mean, be ballsy, right? The Dolphins, for once, I would like to see them fucking get more back in a trade than, they tend, like, what I'm saying is, for once, I would like to see, when they're the receiver of draft picks, I would like to see them be the ones to get overcompensated. Normally when the Dolphins are giving out draft picks to other teams, they give out way more than they fucking should. But anyway, the Dolphins' influx of receivers is part of the team's concerted effort to add weapons around quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. Miami also signed veteran running back Raheem Mostert to add depth to its backfield. The 14th pick in the 2015 draft, Parker spent his entire career with the Dolphins, has struggled to live up to expectations, recording just 1,000-yard season in 7 years. Parker appeared in 10 games last season, recorded 40 receptions, 515 yards, 2 touchdowns, 73 targets, spent some time on injured reserve because of a hamstring injury. The Eagles are looking to improve their receiving core after none of their players reached 1,000 receiving yards last season. DeVonta Smith led Philadelphia with 64 catches, 916 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Actually, and I think Parker could probably provide them with a pretty solid tandem there with DeVonta Smith, a nice complement to what because obviously DeVonta Smith is a smaller, speedier guy. Parker's that more go up and get it kind of guy. Add a veteran like Parker will surely make life easier for Smith and Jalen Hurts. The Eagles also have 3 first-round picks in next month's draft, giving them ample chances to address holes on the roster. Yeah, so there you have it. A lot of good stuff. Obviously, I know I kind of extended the length of this video with a little bit of, an extension from what I was saying yesterday. But again, I just did want to make it clear for people that by no means do I hate the fact that Tyreek Hill is a Miami Dolphin. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I love it. I'm just not a super fan of making that big blockbuster trade for the aforementioned reasons, but there are ways that they can, negate, some of that and create cap space, recoup some of that draft capital. And, as disappointing as it would be from the fact that we drafted him and that I do like him generally as a player and stuff, and he is my only active player jersey right now, I think it would be smart for them to trade DeVante Parker and, get that capital and cap space back. So, anyway, that's what I got. Those are the updates for you. So I am going to wrap up. Before I get out of here, make sure you check out the Rave On Sports App, the new fan-driven sports app for all of your sports, whether it be basketball, baseball, football, college, whatever you like, they got it, and they are looking to enhance your game day experience with live play-by-play coverage, live chats with other fans and content creators like myself, while also providing you with an arena to dispute the terrible officiating. So make sure you look for the links to that in the description box. And with that, I'm going to get out of here. I hope you guys appreciate my perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. And of course, as always, follow me on Twitter at DillonTartaro, as well as on Instagram at Dolphins_with_Dillon. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.
7 seconds left. Tannehill will throw it. And this will end it after the shuttle. Miami runs around. Short to it. Oh, look out. Gronkowski did not be able to go. Touchdown. Daniels Ray. Oh, miracle. Miraculous in Miami. Stills to Parker to Drake. And they held off the field. Unimaginable what has taken place here in South Florida. The Dolphins have done it. They keep their season alive. 69 yards. Wow. Pure joy. Miami wins it.